tomorrow, a work from home day for some of you, ease into the weekend. Look, thank you very much for being on time. We'll get underway. My name's Andrew Rimington, and with Sue, we've known each other for well over a decade now as members of the Career Development Association of Australia. And just looking at everyone who's involved, I'm also a member of BE Bendigo. As a former employee of the Victorian Chamber of Commerce, when regional partnership agreements were negotiated with local chambers, it was a no-brainer for me returning to Bendigo to join BE Bendigo. And so some of you may or may not be members, so welcome. I'm also a member of Discovery and have just stepped down from the board for the last 5 years. And talking to Alyssa Van Soest, the manager here earlier, yes, there are vacancies for board members, so keep that in mind with your voluntary hat on. And I'm also a member of the Institute of Managers and Leaders. Some of you may know it from its previous Australian Institute of Management branding, so it's also upgraded. And I acknowledge ARI and the Young Professionals Network, auspiced by BE Bendigo. So when welcoming you here today, initially I'd just like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the Dja Dja Wurrung and Tongarung country. I'd like to acknowledge this on your behalf and extend my appreciation for the Dja Dja Wurrung people, the traditional owners of the land that we are standing on today, and I pass on my respects for elders past, present and emerging. Now quickly into the purpose of this event. Sue and I, as I said, were talking many times over the years, and in December at the end of year function we thought, why not get an event happening locally in the region here in Bendigo, and with very few local CDAA members, we decided to look broader and look at a collaborative partnership between all the organisations that you see there on the screen. And I can comment that it is a fairly rare event for such a range of professional bodies to cooperatively work together to support this event around people attending, understanding the benefits of what LinkedIn and the value of your membership and how to get best use out of the system. Just very quickly, when I set up Rimington Group as a consulting business in 1999, I had a phone and computer. That was it. No social media. Yes, I accepted disruptive technology in 2001 when I gave up my Sony Walkman and bought my first iPod. Now I've just brought it here because it still works. Some of you may have heard of it or had one or seen one, but they're a great product. Now the issue about LinkedIn, I can confess that my wife and I moved back here 10 years ago after retirement. I've been working now for the last 8-9 years as a career transition coach, working in the support space around people who have been made redundant. And one of the things that has struck me over time with the hundreds of people that I've worked with is, yes, most people have a LinkedIn profile, and that's about it. And using the shared screen, I'd show them how, if I wanted to look at them, I can go to more, I can print their profile off on a PDF, we download it and then look at it. Most people haven't seen what other people will see if they in fact did that. So that's all about messaging. The other discussion we'd have with then, what's your headline, what's your banner like? And I've only ever met a handful of people who have been able to download their contacts into a spreadsheet and use that with whatever colour-coded system for hot prospects or hot leads as part of their networking and job search journey. So I'm sure tonight Sue will be touching on quite a few of those salient points for you. All right, now in introducing this session, yes, it falls in Careers Week. Careers Week isn't just about young people at school, leaving school, at university. I've worked with and met people right across the age spectrum, and it's a good reminder for everyone to think about where are you in your career journey. How's your 1 to 3 year plan, your 5-year plan going? What are your aspirations, goals? Is there a good values fit with what you're doing? Is it time to think about further study, making a move, all those sorts of issues? So hopefully out of today's workshop you'll pick up some key tips that will help you with that. As I said earlier, this is a collaborative delivery. So firstly, I'd like to apologise on behalf of Alyssa Van Soest, who had to leave earlier today, a little bit unwell, but I'll call on the Assistant Manager Bodie Howell to come and just do a welcome and introduction to Discovery. Some of you may not have been here before, but it's good to understand the cultural, social significance and tourism impact that an institution like Discovery has. And in introducing Bodie, he has only moved from Melbourne a year ago, and he confessed earlier that his closest LinkedIn contact is 200 k's away. So hopefully by the end of the night you'll be able to go up to Bodie and using your phone app do the connection. So Bodie, please come and say a few words. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm not going to try to lean into the microphone. That's at a perfect level for Sue later, so I'm just going to have a little chat up here. Before I say much more about Discovery, I would also like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional land of the Dja Dja Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and respect they are among some of the first scientists, engineers and astronomers in recorded human history. We pay respect to them, their culture, their knowledge, their elders, past, present and emerging. It is an absolute treat to have all of you here in Discovery. If anyone hasn't been here, what have you been doing for the last 30 years? It's an honour to be here as the assistant manager and be part of a business that's had such an impact on the local community and the greater community in regional and rural Victoria for so many years. Everybody might know that we have things in the centre. You might have gone down the vertical slide yourself. If you haven't, maybe after. And I have left all the exhibits on if anyone does want to have a play after the session is finished. But, you know, we have over 35, almost 40,000 people visit through the centre every year. But not only that, we travel all across the state, even into New South Wales and ACT, to deliver science and STEM workshops for kids, sometimes in schools of 3 to 4, sometimes in schools of hundreds. Everyone that works in this building is here because we were fortunate enough to have a spark to further study science or to be interested in science and education. That's not something that you just have, that's something that you're given, and a lot of the kids that we managed to get to through Discovery don't always have the same opportunities that they would if they were living in a big city. So I think the work that we do here is incredibly valuable, and if anybody would like to talk about it more later, please do. I also think that these kind of events are really important. Discovery is built on a foundation of partnerships. We're a not-for-profit, we're a registered charity, we're a social enterprise. We can't do what we do and reach the kids that we reach without the support of local businesses. And we have incredible partnerships with people throughout Bendigo. We've currently got a beautiful exhibit here. It's come up from Museum Victoria called Illuminate, which has been a great partnership with Museum Victoria, but it also brought here by the support of RACV Solar here in Bendigo. That's not necessarily a connection that you just draw a line to, but events like this help you find people to connect with, to get more information about the programs they're running. There's so many things that you can find out about people. And also, you know, as Andrew said, I wasn't necessarily here a year ago. I used to work in a whiskey distillery in Melbourne, but to find myself in a kids education centre in Bendigo is a real change, but it's all about the interesting connections that you make in life. So I hope everybody enjoys the session tonight. If anybody would like to come and have a chat about Discovery later, I could talk about it all day long. And if anybody wants to be friends on LinkedIn, that would also be nice. I'll leave you to it. Back to Andrew.
now can I please call on Hayley Tibbett, who's how recently, Hayley, have you been CEO?
Since mid-February, so not that long.
Very quick. So I'd invite Hayley to say a few words. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. I'll keep it nice and short and sweet, but I just want to say thank you to Sue, who's going to be giving us some great insights and expertise tonight. And I know I need it on LinkedIn. I did have somebody else in the audience put me on LinkedIn many years ago, and I really have not got that much further, but I do need to lift my game in that area. Andrew's been a fantastic support getting us organised for today, so thank you as well. For anybody who didn't come through our Be Bendigo channels, we are the Chamber of Commerce in Bendigo. If you ever need anything else along the way, get onto our website. Feel free to join us on our social media, and that'll keep you updated about the things that we are doing in Bendigo. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to bring Andrew and Sue and let them bring the beauty to what we're doing. Thank you.
And in closing the acknowledgements, a big thank you to Ashley Renison, the membership manager from the Institute of Managers and Leaders in Melbourne. And also a thank you to Matt Connell and Tony Hardman from the Australian Human Resources Institute, also for their support and distribution through both those organisations to their local members. Now, straight on to the main act, which is Sue. In registering, you've probably seen Sue's profile, looked at her LinkedIn, and got an understanding of how extraordinary this lady is. As a specialist, author, educator, career development practitioner, consultant, and all that after being a former banker. And just to acknowledge too that Sue and I worked through the Adult Multicultural Education Service for many years in the delivery of the Working the Australian Way workshops targeted at refugees and professionally qualified permanent resident migrants who were struggling to get into the Australian workforce. And there was a 2-day workshop run twice a year to help and impart some skills and knowledge about those next steps. So that was so important. Sue moved from Adelaide to Melbourne '94. In 2001 she created a newcomers network, and also then in Bendigo helped form the Bendigo Newcomers Network in 2004, so that's 20 years ago now. So Sue's been a regular visitor, loves coming to whatever shows on at the gallery, visits the cathedral, enjoys the cuisine and does all that sort of stuff. Apart from that, when she does have time, she loves to catch up with family, friends, and enjoy walking and dancing. So welcome, Sue.
Thank you, Andrew, and I hope I can stand close enough to this microphone so that you can hear me well. I'm impressed by how well behaved people are in Bendigo. I mean, normally when I'm running an event, getting people to sit down quietly, get ready to listen, it's like herding cats, but everybody here is so lovely, so thank you for that. Lovely to see the people who I already know in person via Sue and some others, as well as those people who've met me online. Thanks again to Bodie for the venue, which we got for free, and then all the work that obviously so many people have been involved in to make this event happen. So some of the things that Andrew's already mentioned, I'm a member, I haven't had a real job since 1994, so I'm a member of a number of professional associations, and I've written 5 books. The most recent one is LinkedIn for Me and My Career or Business, which if you've registered online, you will definitely be getting a copy of next week. Alicia from Be Bendigo will be sending a copy of that book out to you. It was a finalist in the Australian Career Book Award and goes step by step through everything. But she'll also be sending you these slides, so don't panic. You don't have to take photos of every slide. You'll be getting them, and they're also going to be on my sueellson.com website. And every time I run an event, I put up this QR code which goes to the contact page of my website, so that if you would like to follow me on social media, you can pick whichever platform you like and follow me on there. And it also keeps me accountable. So I believe that if you're in business, you really need to be reminding people to follow you on social media, not just LinkedIn. So the first question I'm going to ask you tonight, are you here for either careers reasons or business reasons? So careers, if you could put your hand up, or business reasons? Okay, so mostly a business audience, great. So I like to make sure that every workshop is designed for the group. So there's lots of slides here that are not in any of my other presentations because I wanted to focus on LinkedIn for regional professionals. So coming from Adelaide, you know, I sometimes say I'm a refugee from Adelaide, but that's probably slightly inappropriate to say that. But I live in Melbourne, and as Andrew mentions, I catch the train up here 2 to 3 times a year to have a 12-hour sabbatical to get away from the smoke and breathe the beautiful fresh air here. And I sit in the cathedral and I write notes, and I just love it. And then occasionally I go to the art gallery or bring some other annoying person with me because I like it so much on my own that when I bring someone, it's not quite as good. But what I want to talk about tonight is my setup, shine and surprise methodology. So if you want to madly keep up and bring out your laptop and do all this live, you're most welcome to do it. But I am also recording it, and there's a whole bunch of webinars on my website if you would like to do it in a sort of a slower fashion. I always say that training is a bit like a dream. If you don't write down what was helpful to you, you'll walk out the room and forget it. So if you hear something worthwhile, please make a note of it and then follow it up. Ideally, look for at least 3 things that you can do. So Bodie needs at least 3 connections. So if you don't go to him with your phone and get, you know, here's at least 1 person you can connect with tonight, that would be fantastic. And so the setup process, the shine process, and then the surprise, and then some of the things that you can do next. And I'm more than happy, if you want to put your hand up and ask me a question at any point, I'll stop and we'll go off in the tangent and I'll happily answer any other questions. So, can you believe we're going to get through all this in 50 minutes? Oh, the joy of PowerPoint. Somebody told me karaoke PowerPoint, and you'll notice that my slides are really detailed, and that's so that I don't have to say everything. But also, I had some feedback that there's a lot of people who are neurodivergent now, and they really appreciate seeing words on a screen. So I don't want you to think I'm a terrible trainer and I've got too many words on my screen. They're there for using afterwards, as well as for those people who are neurodivergent. So for those, and I don't expect you to see all those stats, apart from the one that says video creation is growing at twice the rate of other formats on LinkedIn. And you know, just to that point, in September 2022, I had an article published on the Daily Mail website. Many of you know it's probably, you know, it's not the greatest website, but a producer from Channel 9 actually saw my comments in that article and called me onto Channel 9's Today Extra. And I appeared on 20 times on national television. And you'd think after, you know, preparing the questions, doing the research, trying to remember a script. I'm not an actor, by the way, so it's really hard to memorise answers. Catching the train, going through hair and makeup, appearing live in a toss box, which is this tiny room on a small chair, staring at a black box, can't see the presenters. I've just got a thing in my ear so I can hear their voices, nothing else. Smile, answer the questions, answer random questions, come out, take the video, put it on my website. It's like 10 hours of work for each appearance. But nevertheless, you probably wouldn't believe that I was nervous about doing my own filming on my phone. Like, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? If you can go on national television, why can't you just film on your phone? But it's true. And I say that because so many people assume, oh, well, you just need to do video content, you'll be fine, and it doesn't matter if your hair's wrong. Well, no, you know, it's kind of a big thing. So I'm mentioning that it's growing, so if you're a bit hesitant, you know, try not to be. But anyway, LinkedIn was launched in May 2003. I joined on the 21st of December 2003. So if you want to open up your LinkedIn app and click on the More button or the Resources button on your LinkedIn profile, you will see the month and year that you joined LinkedIn. And you can also, if you're visiting someone else's profile, see the month and year that they joined. And that can be really interesting to know that, well, I'm not sure about this person, they look a bit dodgy. Oh, they joined in May 2025, they probably are dodgy. But if they joined in May 2010, they could be all right, okay? So it's really handy to know when someone joined. So you visit your own LinkedIn profile, so your face is on the top left of the screen, and you'll see a More button or a Resources button in the middle of the screen somewhere. And then from that it will say About this profile, and it will show you the month and year you joined.
On the front, it's 3 dots.
Oh, the 3 dots,
Yes.
sorry. The 3 dots. Press the 3 dots next to the big blue button usually. Yeah, 3 dots. And about this profile, did you find the month and year? Did anybody join before 2010? Oh wow, excellent. Fantastic. Yeah, so you've been on it for more than 15 years. Well done. So for those of you who did join a long time ago, you may remember that it was just your online resume and a jobs board. That's all it was. But over the years, it's grown and developed. And it was acquired by Microsoft in 2016 in one of the biggest acquisitions in corporate history in the world. So it's now owned by Microsoft, not one individual megalomaniac. And when they purchased it, they updated LinkedIn. And I was very nervous because they took out a lot of features. And so I was really anxious. I couldn't breathe for about 3 days. And I conducted this survey and I got loads of people to respond, and all the Microsoft engineers were looking at it because I put it on LinkedIn, of course. And fortunately, they brought back everything except tagging your contacts. And of course, that was one of the best features they had on it. And you can only get that now with Sales Navigator. So I'm a bit disappointed about that. But the good news is, unfortunately, they lost a lot of staff at the beginning of COVID, but they did a whole bunch of improvements on the digital platform. So what I love about LinkedIn is it's constantly updating, constantly being changed. It's now a huge international network with over 1 billion members worldwide. It's a publishing tool, so if I publish something on LinkedIn, I can get that in search results sometimes before the content I have on my own website. And obviously, we're moving away from, did you have a nice sexy job title and company you used to work for, versus do you have the skills to do the job? So we're moving from the job titles world to the skills world. So this is why skills are really important. Now on this page, I've also mentioned, you can check out the news page if you want more details about LinkedIn, the LinkedIn user agreement. So it's not ridiculously long, but there is a section called Section 8 on the do's and don'ts of LinkedIn, and it's well worth having a quick look at, as well as the professional community policies, because it gives you some really great tips on how you can use LinkedIn effectively, and it's really sort of the nicest, friendliest social media platform in my view. So that's the steps, the date you join LinkedIn. So yeah, on your phone it's the 3 dots. So thank you for checking out your date. Now, the next thing is, the biggest question I get asked at the moment is, should I get verified or not? And I went through the process of scanning my passport with a third-party app. And as Andrew said, I'm an ex-banker, and it gave me chills to do that. I do not recommend that you verify your profile using the scan passport feature. Not only that, at the time I did it, it changed my LinkedIn profile to Suzanne Ellson instead of Sue Ellson, and the only people who call me Suzanne are my family. So, you know, nobody's going to know who I am if it's got a Suzanne profile. But fortunately, because I had added my Net Expat email address when I was doing work for them to the back end of LinkedIn, I was able to verify my LinkedIn account using my work email address. So I want you, for all of those people who are in a job, to add your work email address to your LinkedIn account, because there's a very good chance that you'll be able to verify your LinkedIn account with that work email address. And the only disclaimer I'm going to make is, if you work for the government, don't put your government email on, because the government's a bit funny about us using our emails for other accounts. So not for the government, but for everybody else, leave all of your old email addresses on your account, don't take any off, and always add any new email addresses to your LinkedIn account. What this will also do is prevent you from accidentally creating a duplicate account, and I'll come back to that shortly. Now, the next thing that I do when I'm working with an individual, questions? Yeah.
So what happens if you work for yourself?
Yep.
And you've got your business email address there, how do I get another email address there, my work address and my business address?
You might not be able to be verified.
Yeah.
So don't panic. So long as people can still see when you joined LinkedIn, they're going to be reasonably comfortable with that. Okay, so that's why I say don't do the passport thing, because I just don't like your passport being used for that purpose. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's not a paid thing. So yeah, great question. Because I had mostly private email addresses as well. What LinkedIn has said is they're going to give more employers the opportunity to be verifiable. So maybe if you joined the board of the Discovery Centre and had your new Discovery Centre email address to your account, that might be a way, I don't know, but I can't guarantee it. All right, so before I work with anybody on their LinkedIn profile, I get them to back up their profile. So this is what Andrew was talking about before. It doesn't back up everything on your profile, but it does give you a little bit of a record before you start making any edits. So I get people to change their internet browser settings so that it asks where to save files. And then what I do is I get them to visit their profile and click on resources and then choose save to PDF. So that will give you the opportunity to have at least a record of what you had before you change anything. Because if you change anything on your LinkedIn profile, it's instant. You can't call them up and say, I want to go back to what I had before, it's gone. So yeah, this is good to save to PDF. Now it doesn't bring off everything, so you want to save the rest of your content in a Word document, and then if you save it with today's date back to front, dash first name, dash last name, dash LinkedIn, dash profile, dash before, dash edits, then you know just by looking at the profile or the file name that that's what's there. And the other backup that Andrew was talking about is being able to download all your connections. And you should do this about every 6 months. In the unlikely event that LinkedIn blows up, or you're naughty and they delete your account without warning, you've at least got some record of all of your connections. So to do this, you would click on the Me menu and choose Settings and Privacy, then Data Privacy, then get a copy of your data, request the archive, and press the Request Archive button. Now, LinkedIn will prepare that and send an email to you with a link. You click on the link and you download the files. Now, if you're in business, so most of you here in business, you should match that up to your CRM, and you should also make sure all the people in your CRM are all customer relationship management system in your LinkedIn. So when was the last time you made sure all of your customers, you were connected to them on LinkedIn? And vice versa, all your LinkedIn people, are in your CRM. So there's a first little bit of homework for some of you. If you don't have a customer relationship management system, I'm quite sure you've sent them all invoices. So just download the list of customers from your invoicing system and then make sure that you connect with everyone there. I have a policy, my 3 favourite words are not I love you, they're from now on, right? So from now on, I invite you to connect with everyone you meet, and that should help you out there. So the next thing we do to make sure that the person's getting value out of working with somebody like Andrew or I is we record the statistics. So we write down these numbers. These are all real-time numbers. So if you've got a sales team or other people on the team, you can all sort of start off and say, right, as at the 15th of May, this is our numbers. So how many people have you got in your network? I suggest at least 60 and aim for 500. Have you got more followers than connections? How many profile views have you had in the last 90 days? Hopefully over 100. How many search appearances have you had in 7 days? Hopefully more than 50. And LinkedIn is now monitoring if you're a good LinkedIn citizen or not. So are you listening as well as speaking? And I'll show you that. And then have you got at least 20 votes for your main skills and at least 6 recommendations that you've given and received. And then you can compare them after you've updated your LinkedIn profile and say, oh my goodness, by updating my LinkedIn profile, all my stats have jumped. So would you like me to show you this slide? Would that be helpful? Yeah. So the first one is the number of people in your network. So you just click on My Network, and I don't expect anybody to have these numbers, right? You're like, this is my shtick, so you're not expecting to have this many. So connections, 26,093. And then followers is just the choice underneath. And you can have 30,000 connections and an unlimited number of followers. So if I click on followers, you can see 30,716, right? So if you write that number down, you can't go back and say, what was it on the 15th of May? If you don't write it down, you don't know the difference. Now the next one is you click on the blue LinkedIn icon and you visit your face. And on this screen here, we can see, come on computer, wakey wakey. All right, 1,193 views in the last 90 days. So that number should be over 100 and this number should be over 50. Or this number should be around half. So this is per 7 days and this is per 90 days. And then if you click on the All Analytics button, this is where you can see LinkedIn measuring your behaviour. It's called the Weekly Sharing Tracker. And what they're monitoring is how many posts have you done, how many comments have you added in the newsfeed, and how many collaborative articles created by AI have you engaged with. Skip the last one, it is a waste of time, right? So just focus on making sure that your comments are more than the number of times you post. Because if you're going to post and ghost, your content's not going to go very far. If you're in business to try and get opportunities, you want people to, see the stuff. So yeah, commenting is going to be really, really important. Now the next one is the number of votes for your top skills. So if we go back to my profile, we go down to the skills section. And it's a bit like War and Peace, my profile, but it's done that way so I attract those views. So here's my 2 skills, LinkedIn and writing. Now, if we go in here, click the pen, you can shuffle the skills and you want to make sure, click the 3 dots, you can reorder your skills so the top 2 are listed. And if I go in here, I can see how many votes I've got for this. So I've got to scroll right to the bottom and click on there. And you'll see I've got how many votes? 275 votes for LinkedIn. So you want to make sure you've got at least 20 votes for each of your top skills. Now the next one is recommendations, which are basically like an online review. And you want to have at least 6 of each, both received and given. Now, I met one person who had 160 that they had received and 0 that they had given. Now, I know people from the country are very discerning, and if you saw somebody who had given 0, what impression would you have of that person? Selfish. But I was working with a lawyer this day, and this lawyer said, well, clearly no one asked him. And I thought, that's a very good lawyer, because he can find an argument for anything. But he made a point, was nobody asked. So don't be afraid to ask so that you can get recommendations, and don't be afraid to give them. Now, if you give them to somebody as famous as Andrew, then every time somebody visits Andrew's LinkedIn profile, they're going to see your recommendations. So you can be quite strategic about it as well. I'm sure the people at Bendigo would love to see a recommendation if you've enjoyed some of their activities. So they're the stats. Pretty straightforward, but most people don't even know they exist, and there's no way of really measuring what's working for you if you don't write those numbers down and then compare them again in the future. All right, so the next thing I'm going to encourage you all to do, and you can do this from your phone, is change your URL. So when you create a LinkedIn account, it gives you a URL, a link on the internet. So if you copy that link, people can click on it and see your LinkedIn profile. And what it normally has is your first name, dash last name, and a whole bunch of numbers and letters. But it's much better if you've personalised it, because by personalising it, what's going to happen is you're going to appear in more online search results. So if somebody Googles Sue Hurley is more likely to appear because she's changed her LinkedIn URL. So if you haven't done this already, I encourage you to do so. If your own name in one word is not available, you can pop a number on the end, you can put dash in your middle name, you can put Ms in the front, or your Bachelor of Business I've got, but nothing to do with your birthday. But just make it unique, still with your name in it. And that you can then add it to your email signature, your resume and cover letters, and it showcases your digital competency, which is what I'm all for. And even if somebody has the old link, it will still send them to the new link. So don't panic that you'll lose any opportunities from somebody who has your old link. Now, as I said before, I really encourage you to add all your email addresses to your LinkedIn account, and then have one as the primary email address and never remove anything, so that you don't create a duplicate account and anybody looking for you will find you because your email's there. You've got an alternative sign-in, and you need to turn on two-step verification, and you can also decide who can see your email address, because if you've got a high profile position, you might not want to be contactable. So there's a whole bunch of settings you can change. I'm not going to go through those tonight because you'll all fall asleep, and I'd like to make it a bit more interesting than that. But once you start becoming active on LinkedIn, you're going to start getting lots of notifications. They're going to want you to be on the platform more and more often. And I do not need an email every time somebody wants to connect with me. Like, that's just too many emails. So I've gone into my notifications section and turned off all the email notifications because I just don't want them. So I'm just there to remind you that that's it. But essentially all social media, and I do other social media training, not just LinkedIn, they want more people more often for longer. So any behaviour that you do that encourages that, they're going to like that and let your content go further. So just turn off the notifications you don't need. So that's the setup. Now we're going to talk about the interesting stuff, your photo. And this guy here, he actually got guitar gigs via LinkedIn because he had that photo of him with the guitar. And this guy is now over 80, and he doesn't look it, does it? Because he's got energy and enthusiasm. And that's what you've got to convey. It's not about your wrinkles. And I tell people to smile so that this part here on your face creases. Now, even if you were 15, it would still crease, right? I'm just letting you know. And so you want to convey how enthusiastic you are. Now, if you take your photo indoors and are really excited at the time you take it, your pupils will dilate and be bigger, and you'll look much more energetic, right? If you take it outside on a nice, bright, sunny day, doesn't matter how enthusiastic you are, the science person will tell you your pupils will shrink, and you're not going to look as energetic and enthusiastic. So take lots of photos. I went to a professional photographer. It took him 70 shots before he got one I liked. So don't take 4 and say, I can't do this. You've got another 66 to go. And believe it or not, up to 65% of the time spent looking at your LinkedIn profile will be spent looking at the photo. So it has to convey that energy. Hopefully it's less than 3 years old. Best if it's not a wedding photo. You know, you went to a wedding and you took a photo. It's not kind of the thing. I really love this photo of Liz because, like me, she's wearing a scarf. And I love it when you wear a high neck garment, because what that does is it frames your face. So instead of somebody looking at your neck like they are over here, or even here, because she's got that scarf on, it's framing her face and drawing attention to the eyes, which is, you know, where we decide, you know, whether we'd like to reach out to someone or not. Now, Andrew also mentioned the background image. I have my daughter's permission, I wonder if you can see the family resemblance there, to use her LinkedIn profile as an example. And when she was working, she had this plain blue background that matched her garment. And now she's started her own little business, and we've got the logo on the right-hand side. And the reason it's on the right is when it's on a mobile device, the photo swings into the middle. So if we have the logo in the middle, it would obscure it. So if you're going to put that banner in and put a logo in, pop it up on the top right. You're not allowed to put advertising material there, but you can put branding. So my books I consider to be branding. You don't want a picture that's so interesting that people spend more time looking at the banner instead of at your face. So that's the only other thing. Now, this field, the headline, is the most important field on your LinkedIn profile. If you do not have your keywords in here, your business or your career opportunities are just not going to come to you. And you can see I've got 3.5 lines worth of words there. So I start off with my label. We all know you should label jars, not people. But if you meet me at a networking event, what do you do, Sue? And I'll say, I'm an independent LinkedIn specialist. So that gives them my label. I can do lots of other things, but I just tell them that. And then what I've done is I've filled it up with keywords that are not repeated, that I would like somebody to find me for. So if somebody is looking for a LinkedIn trainer or a LinkedIn consultant or a LinkedIn expert, you can see that that combination of words, I'm still going to appear in search results. And so I don't want you to say how fabulous you are at solving people's problems. Nobody searched solve my problem. People said, I want an accountant, or whatever it is. So you need to think about the words. And then right at the end, I put in a little dancing lady emoji, because I'm a woman of a certain age, and I want people to know I still move. And so, and I know how to put an emoji on the screen. But I don't have it all through the headline, only at the end as a bit of a talking point, because it's a database, and a database can't read emojis, it can only read text. So I'm not going to get any value out of putting emojis or blue arrows or some other fancy feature in the headline. I've got a capital letter for each word, I've used commas, and if you're not sure what your keywords could be, you can look at job descriptions, job ads, other businesses, myfuture.edu.au. For every job, it lists what you would be doing in that job. And if you're in business, you can right-click somewhere on the person's website and choose View Page Source or View Source Code. And then you'll see a little bit of text, like it says here, the title of that website and the description. So you can pinch the keywords that your competitors are using and make sure you've got them on your LinkedIn profile and that you're really focused on those things. The goal of this is to appear both in LinkedIn search and AI results. So what happened was there was a guy in the UK and he asked 100 people to type into their favourite generative AI platform the top 5 LinkedIn specialists. And he compiled those results and I ended up equal 6 in the world in LinkedIn specialists in AI results. And I'm the only Australian, and there was 5 women and 5 men, which was nice. But that's because I publish content on my website as well as LinkedIn. So if you're in business, please make sure you don't just post on LinkedIn, put the content on your website first. That's going to help. Now the About section, there's a lot of arguments about whether you should write it in first person. I started here, I went there, I'm now offering this, my business can help you with. Or whether you write it in no person, started here, went there, or whether you write it in third person, Sue started here, Sue went there. I like third person because if you're reading about me and it says Sue, you'll remember it's about Sue. If you're reading I, you might think about yourself, but you're reading about someone else. But somebody told me recently that if you wrote it, you should write it as I. So I'm not going to worry if you write it in first person or third person, but please don't use the AI version because it cuts it down really short and that's not going to help you. But I love bullet points, separating things into skills, and I love those, different ways that you can write it, put a bit of personality into it, and make sure you include your call to action if you're in business, and add in the top 5 skills to that section. Now, this is where I can give you a lot of homework if you so choose. And a number of you said you've never updated your LinkedIn profile. Oh, this is not a good sign. And this can take about 10 hours. Every job you've done to write in achievements, tasks, and a little description of the organisation, as well as some video links to some great stuff and your skills. So this is how I recommend that you do it for every job that you've ever done. So I know it's going to take a lot of time, but it's good to have a record of it. and and all these achievements are written in past tense, and all the tasks are written in present tense. I will just grab my charger. It was fully charged before I started, by the way.
Using colour juice, using
Now you could connect to someone on your phone while you're waiting. Now, the next section is education, and no one I've met has ever filled this in. They've never listed their subjects, so I can guarantee you this is a really good thing to do. And what I've done is I've also optimised by not only including the subjects that I did, but also some of the topics. So if you want to optimise, like if I wanted to be on the board, governance, risk and compliance, they were in my business ethics subject, so I've popped them in there as well. And I've also put in a link because the University of South Australia is becoming Adelaide University, so I've updated all that as well. And you can also add stuff you've done in the courses section. Now, as I said, it was a resume and jobs board. Now we're moving to skills. And you can add skills in the skills section, the about section, every job you've had, every license and certification, every education and every project. So there's lots of sections where you can add those skills. So I really encourage you to do that so you can appear in more search results. And then there's all these other sections that you can also add to your LinkedIn profile. So I've filled in all of them except a career break and a patent because I don't like the career break option and I don't have a patent. But if you want to stalk me after this, that's perfectly fine to see what I've done and to see the layout, because it's not like the plumber's plumbing. I actually have updated it, so it's all there. You can obviously put in your membership if you're part of Bendigo in the licenses and certification section, and you can also put that in the organisation section. So there's two sections. So all Bendigo members, part of the induction process, definitely recommend that you update your LinkedIn profile. The easiest one to fill in is the languages, and you know, I know you speak English. Oi. Now we've lost something altogether. That's our any desk. All right, Bodie. Can you tell me the number? On your screen, please. We're using
Shortly.
Yes, shortly. We're using my laptop to connect to that laptop using the internet, and we're using a program called AnyDesk to do that, which is something we've all learned today. Don't you love a glitch?
sorry, Sue.
Yes.
While we're waiting,
Yes.
I just had a question. You might talk about it a bit later, but what do you think about the premium and the paid subscription for LinkedIn? And
Yes.
is it worth it?
Yes. All right. So everything I'm showing you tonight can be done on the free LinkedIn account, so you don't need to pay for any of it. And I've only been a premium member for about the last 3 years, and it looks pretty mean if I'm a LinkedIn specialist and I don't have premium. And when I went to purchase it, it was really difficult to work out what was what and how much it was going to cost, so I had to do lots of Googling. And I chose the cheapest one, which is jobs and careers, even though maybe the business one would have been better for me. And it gives me some extra status, as in it puts that little Golby logo on there saying that I'm a LinkedIn member. And also it allows me to put an away message on my inbox, which I love. It gives me 15 in mail so I can message someone who I'm not connected to. It helps me appear higher in job search results. It helps me find more people beyond my direct network. Now, if you have not updated your LinkedIn profile, it is a complete waste of money because you need to optimise your profile first. That's a really important step. So yeah, and I have paid for LinkedIn ads. I even paid for them to promote this event. I got not one registration from the LinkedIn ads. So oh well. So I'm not a huge fan of LinkedIn ads because you need an audience size of 300 if you're doing a traditional campaign. And because we're such a small population in Australia and most people don't fill in their LinkedIn profile, there's virtually, no way of getting that size audience up. Yeah, great question. Have we got a number? Oh, you've done it. Oh, excellent. Okay. But I don't see that on my screen. I'm just seeing my computer. I think you need to open AnyDesk. And so, because you're not seeing my screen yet. Yeah, so I've got to get that address, that's the one. 1826. Now, this is the part that I've tailored specifically to people living in a regional location, which was why we called this LinkedIn for regional professionals. So, I live in Canterbury, a suburb of Melbourne, very nice spot actually, and yet, on my LinkedIn profile, in the main location section, it says Greater Melbourne, because that's a bigger gene pool than just mentioning Canterbury. Now, you and I know where Bendigo is, and I've also mentioned in the contact info section, so where that blue text is, this is the screenshot, and I've mentioned Canterbury, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia 3126. So that geolocates me to that specific location, right? And then what I've done to make sure I appear in the World Wide Web of people who might be interested in my services, in my experience section, I list, because these are all present roles, my current thing is doing my own stuff, so I say that's in Greater Melbourne. My newcomers network that I set up in 2001, I've nominated Australia as my location. And this little part-time job that I have, I've mentioned Surrey Hills, which is a suburb next to me. So if you were thinking about optimising yourself because you want gigs in Bendigo, then you would have Bendigo in all of these sections. But if you want to be attracting opportunities from other locations, then there's these other sections where you can put the broader description so that you can appear in those bigger search results. Does that make sense? Yeah, great. So that's the shine section. Now the surprise. So people love it when you like their stuff and you endorse them for their skills. So if you know someone who's really good at something, visit their LinkedIn profile and give them a little vote. When this first came out, everybody poo-pooed it and said it felt too much like Facebook, but it helps you get in search results. And the next thing is recommend to other people. You need to be connected to them, and the way I write it is we start by saying, how did I meet them, what did I see, and I wish them all the best in the future. And make sure you abide by these social media policies. So when I was working at Westpac, we were not allowed to write recommendations. And also, as I said before, make sure you ask for recommendations. And the next thing is start liking stuff in the news feed. Now, if you're in business, what you can do is you can click the notification bell on the people that you get lots of work from, or the businesses you would like to be doing business with, click the notification bell and choose all posts. So you're more likely to see their stuff in your newsfeed, and then you can like it. So you imagine you've got a person who constantly refers new work to you, and every time they go on LinkedIn you like their post, they're going to be pretty happy with that. So, consider doing that. You've got some different choices: thumbs up, celebrate, support, love, insightful, or funny. So you've got different ones you can choose. And then you can also add comments to things in the news feed. And the longer these are, the better. So some years ago, I heard about this idea of the engagement ratio of being 12 to 1. So 12 engagements versus 1 post. So that keeps the algorithm super happy because you're being a nice LinkedIn citizen, and they're going to reward it so that when you do post, your content goes further. And I personally will always respond to every comment that I see that was written. Yes, question?
Sometimes I get notifications of impressions. Is that how many people are seeing the post?
That's how many times that piece of content appeared on someone's screen. So it doesn't necessarily mean they saw it or they read it or anything like that. It just appeared on their screen. Yeah. But it's a good indication if, things are going well for you or not. Yeah. Is there another one at the back? No? Okay. Cool. So add comments. Now the next thing is, obviously you can post content. As I said at the beginning, video is going gangbusters. I would film the video and then upload it directly into LinkedIn, and I do them for less than 1 minute. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can curate something fabulous from somewhere else and share it, or you can maybe create a photo that tells a whole story and put a little bit of text with that. But 300 words is really good for an article if you're going to write one of those, and you don't need to post more than once a week. Some people will tell you 3 times a week, some people will tell you 7 times a day. Once a week is really enough, because then you obviously spend the rest of the time engaging. Now, when you do prepare content, make sure that it's designed for your audience. So if somebody tells me to like a post about cats, it's got nothing to do with LinkedIn, so I'm probably not going to do it. It's probably not going to be on LinkedIn in the first place, but definitely make sure that you're sharing something of value. So a lot of people are using AI to create content, but it's pretty ordinary. So just make sure that you add something really interesting and of value. And if you're going to be applying for jobs, you can add in 5 job titles and add job alerts. And what you can also do is have the little green frame on your face which says you're open to work. Now, I found a lot of people feel that that's a bit negative, and so they've chosen not to do it. And I wouldn't normally do it, but some people have actually got lots of leads if they've got a skill in demand. So up to you. But I really encourage you to follow any companies where you would like to do business with or you'd like to work. Because if you're already following them, then you're more likely to appear in their search results. So obviously you can all follow the Discovery Centre, you can follow Bendigo, and the local council, all those sorts of places are really good to follow, and any employers you would like to work for as well. Now, if you're looking at regional areas, what you can do is you can add in location types, on-site, hybrid or remote, and then you can list 5 locations on site. Now, I've put New Zealand in there because I've not been and I'd love a gig over in New Zealand, so that's why I put that one in there. And then there's locations you can work for remotely. So I think most of us should probably put that Australia one in there so that we can get gigs, because we kind of get the Australian culture. So just keep those things in mind as well. Now, there's also something called providing services. So if some of you are providing services, you can set up a services page. The service categories are not great, but you can add up to 10 if they're relevant, and you can add in media, and you can ask for reviews. If you've got a business, you need to have a company page, and I would recommend that you set that up via that link and make sure you fill in every section. You can see here, I've got a company page called Sue Ellson, and I've got over 1,000 followers. So don't worry that you're a business of one or a business of many. Either one is fine, but it means that I've got a logo on my LinkedIn profile next to that. And then if you've got multiple outlets for your business, like multiple school campuses or sites, you can add all those locations to the business page as well. Now, if you're a regional business, you can also, in the work location section, you can tick your main location, and you can also tick the I am available to work remotely. So that's another way to optimise it for the regional area. Now, I've shown some of you, as you've come in tonight, how to use the scan code feature on your phone. So where you find this is in the LinkedIn app. You press in the search box, and then you see some little squares, and you press the squares, and then you can scan the other person that you've met, and their LinkedIn profile will appear on your screen. When that happens, you scroll down, you don't press the big blue button, you press the 3 dots, and then you choose personalised invite, you can say Bendigo, and then send off the connection request. So as a general rule, whenever I go networking, I try and connect with at least 3 people. Now, this is the most valuable piece of information for the whole evening, which is something called a Google Advanced Search. So this is if you're looking for someone to network with, to find a job, or whether you're looking for business opportunities. And if you go into Google and do one of these advanced searches, you are able to search the entire LinkedIn database without paying for LinkedIn Recruiter or Sales Navigator or any of the other very expensive products that LinkedIn has. So let's say I was looking for a project manager. So I'll just put project manager in quotation marks. This is called a Boolean search, and I'm going to look for the word and I want them to be in Bendigo, and I want to check out the whole linkedin.com website, and I choose advanced search, and what's going to happen is a number of jobs will appear on my screen, but after that I'll eventually start seeing people who've written project manager on their LinkedIn profile. So clearly not many people have. Anyway, here's Reese. Okay, so what I would do now is I would right click on Reese and choose open in a new tab. And then I'd keep looking. Oh, here's Thomas. So right click, open in a new tab. And then I would go through and say, all right, do I want to reach out to Thomas? I would have a quick look and see when did Thomas join LinkedIn. May 2017, okay, not verified, and have a look at how many connections Thomas has, where else they've worked, and then decide whether I'd like to reach out to Thomas. And you can do this for job search or for business. So Google Advanced Search, really, really powerful tool. Now, and again, make sure you're following those aligned companies and that you can see those as well. And we're nearly at the end. There's the premium, which I answered before when Tiffany said whether it's worth it. That little screenshot is all the different options available with the different premium services. If you go to your local library, you can access LinkedIn Learning for free through the local library. So that might be something you'd like to check out. And make sure if you take up the free option, you cancel it after the 1 month because they keep charging, just like a gym membership. So they're the setup, shine and surprise methodologies. What do I recommend you do after me sharing all of that information? Well, from now on, connect with everyone you meet, online, offline, personally or professionally. Complete a full LinkedIn backup every 6 months and collect your stats every 6 months, and review all the back-end settings because they change quite frequently every 6 months as well. Update your LinkedIn profile within 2 weeks of tonight. Otherwise, you probably will do nothing because most people, in fact, if you don't do it within 3 days, you'll probably do nothing. But anyway, that way you'll get the best out of it. And look at your update, every time something changes, update your LinkedIn profile in the future. Engage once a week and post either weekly or monthly, and decide on what else is going to work for your business with work, open to work, providing services, all those research options. But again, focus on what works for you. I had a person who came to me for some training on Facebook ads, and it turns out the person who told him he should do Facebook ads ran Facebook ads and got all these leads that were pointless. So, we've got to remember what is it we're going to do that is actually going to lead to results of what we're trying to achieve. So on your chairs, there's a little evaluation form. This is really important because this is a collaborative event that you either fill it in, and I've recycled a bunch of pens that have been sitting in my cupboard at home. So if the pen doesn't work, there's a couple of extras over on the table there. Or you can use this online form if you prefer. And it says, did you enjoy the workshop overall? What has been the most benefit to you? What else would have been helpful? What we would do next? And do you have any other feedback you would like to share? So think about the 3 things you'd like to do within the next 3 days. We are here definitely until 6:30, so you've got just over half an hour for lots more networking and asking questions. But first of all, I'll just open to the floor. Are there any specific questions you would like me to focus on? Yes?
You said at one point you don't like the career break option.
Yes.
Why is that?
So the career break option only gives you a choice of about 10 things. So for instance, one of them is full-time parenting. Now, I don't know any person who's a full-time parent who's not doing 6 other things at the same time. And I don't want people to be classified by one component only. So what I normally do is I group information together. So a way to look at this is on my own LinkedIn profile. So I started the bank 11 years in Westpac, and I did lots of different roles. Now, I don't go into an individual outline for all of my roles at Westpac because it was all pre-1994. So there's no point doing that. So it's rather long, so I'm just going to get to it. But then what I did is when I moved from Adelaide to Melbourne, I got a job, found out I was pregnant, got sacked, and it took me 6.5 years not to be angry about that, but anyway. I was studying part-time, I was doing contract work, I was doing all sorts of different things until I launched newcomersnetwork.com in 2001. So what I've done on my LinkedIn profile is rather than say I was full-time parenting, because I was doing that. So here's my Westpac one, right? So I've grouped all of my Westpac experience into one section. And then what I've done is I've said between March 94 and January 2001, these are the places I worked. Now, the first one was the one who sacked me, and then this was a day here, a day there. That was about 3 months, that was 6 weeks, that was 4 weeks, that was 2 days. They're all different time frames, but to write all that up would have taken a lot of time. So I've just grouped it all together, and it's still telling the truth of from that date to that date, these were some of the things I did.
Sorry, where have you put this? Because when I look at jobs, you have to specify an employer and
Yep.
there's
So
one for each one.
yes, so what you can do is you can just choose various there. So instead of choosing Sue Ellson, which was my company page, you can just choose various and then just group them all together so that it doesn't look like those big long gaps between gigs. So that's the way I massage the message. I'm not lying, but I'm making the truth look slightly better.
And if your career break involved jobs that have nothing to do with your career.
Yep.
And you want to get back into that career.
Yep.
Would you put them in there or leave them out?
Absolutely, because otherwise people assume you're on the dole, on drugs, in jail, disabled. They don't know what was happening between that date and that date. And also what I'd like you to focus on is the transferable skills, right? So when I wrote up this banking thing, I didn't talk about I worked in the proofroom encoding checks, because, nobody does that anymore. Checks are disappearing, apparently. So what I did was I focused on the transferable skills. Now, interestingly here, I used to be pretty good at picking up people who were trying to rip the bank off and commit fraud. And so I mentioned fraud detection. And would you believe 2 years ago, I got contacted by a recruiter who wanted me to work for the National Disability Insurance Agency picking up fraud simply because I'd mentioned fraud detection once on my LinkedIn profile. So this is the benefit of telling that story and some of those interesting words that you can put in with that experience. Now, in terms of moving it back into the career you want to move into, right? So first of all, your photo should look like you work in that area, but then you need to make sure that your headline has all those words in it, so directly underneath your name. And also, if you can possibly put it, so that section there, and if you can add in a section, so if you're not working right now, I would suggest you add in a little job, and you would call it career research. And what sort of work are you looking for? Accounting, right. Accountant, I don't know, bookkeeping, I don't know, whatever, you put in all the words in there. And then when you go down to organisation, you choose various, but you do not choose one of these. So you just click out of there so it doesn't choose one of those various. You just say no to that. And when you started looking, so let's say I started looking in March 2025, and then you go down in the description box and you say, I'm currently looking for roles after a break from accounting. I'm now looking at getting back into accounting. These are the things I'm doing. I'm doing some online short courses. I'm meeting with mentors. I'm doing research and analysis, you know, whatever it is. And you talk to some of those skills. So what you're doing is you're tricking the system into believing you're in that role now. But of course, when someone reads it, they can see it's actually career research. So it's a way of sort of playing the game of technology. I hope that helps. Yeah.
Sue, as someone who does career coaching as well, I'm just surprised you've got all that detail in your profile, because the usual advice is keep your CV very short.
Yep.
And not to have task lists, but more accountability and achievement. So
Yeah.
so it's-
But my goal always is to appear in search results. Because if I'm not in search results, I'm going to get no opportunity, right? So even a resume now, I would say to people, so long as it is scan friendly, it can be longer. Because if you're in an applicant tracking system and you haven't mentioned that you pick up frauds, you will just never appear in a fraud search. So, you know, it would be worthwhile, you know, potentially for some roles to have those extra details in there. So what I would normally suggest to people is put the whole story on LinkedIn and create a ridiculously long resume that has everything in it. And then when you go for a job, save it as a new file name and take out anything that's not relevant and shuffle things to the order that would suit that job.
There's also another way of, which I often advise people to lay out their CV, is you sort of have the summary of your roles at
Yes.
the top, and then you have a separate section by skill.
Yes.
Say where you've got your experience and what experiences you've had, because once you get a longer career, you can have experience, certain type of experience scattered
Yeah,
through your
definitely.
career. So if you say, I'm just going to say, you've done financial management, it can be from early in your career to current, some roles you may not have done it, and then you've done it in others, and it gets lost.
It does.
Yeah.
So in the LinkedIn profile, you can put that in the About section. So here what I've done, can you see how easy that is to read? Because it's just really short dot points, and it looks good on a mobile phone too, because a lot of people are reading on mobiles. So anything you can put all together, your professional skills, your technical skills, your personal skills, industry experience, and then there's a little bit of a room for a little bit of a bio there as well. So that's another way to do it. So people can get that really quick glance. Because as we all know, what do employers want? They want you to rock up day one and be able to do something. You know, that's going to be far more important than the job title. Not 100%, you know, 60% is good enough, but yeah, you've got to have that story there. So yeah, good to remind them of that. Yep.
So what do you think about advertising on LinkedIn? And so like advertising yourself or your business, say your opening hours or that sort of thing, and are there any other don'ts that you would recommend?
Well, I don't recommend the advertising.
Yeah.
Did you wake up this morning, Daniel, and say, I can't wait to open my LinkedIn app and check sponsored messages or the news feed or the ads?
Not at all.
Correct. And that's what we've got to remember.
Yeah.
So if you're a business owner and you know, I'll give you an example, again with my daughter. So what you do with Carmen, she used to work for a print company and they would ask for quotes, you know, let's say you want 100 puffer jackets with your logo on it, right? So you contact Carmen, you say, I'd like 100 puffer jackets with my logo, I want this, this and this. She goes out and finds it, gets it happening, and it's delivered on time, design organised, the whole lot, right? So I said to her, wouldn't it be a good idea for you to do a little leaflet drop in your local area and get known with all the local businesses and go to networking events? She said, Mum, the only people I want to speak to are the marketing people who've got a budget. They don't just want 100 puffer jackets. They want 100 puffer jackets and 100 hats and 300 aprons and, do you know what I mean? She wanted bigger scale. So what she's done is she's gone onto LinkedIn and she's found those people and those marketing agencies who have the spend that they want to buy a bulk lot, and then she connects with them. So long as she keeps posting and is nice on LinkedIn and so on, the work will eventually come through. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She said, this is the person who will buy my stuff. Whereas ads, you know, it's like a shotgun, it goes everywhere. But we want, you know, the direct person. So focus on building relationships. So when I was working with this brilliant Irish guy, he was so clever, he could play the piano for money as well as be brilliant at telecommunications. And so he was just playing the piano for money until he found the right people to speak to, and he basically created a job. And he had everybody in a spreadsheet, he had recruiters in a spreadsheet, and he gave them bottles of wine. And I said, I don't like wine, can you give them chocolates? And he said, Sue, I can't be a bloke and give a woman chocolates without it looking sus, so I'll stick to the wine. And, you know, and that's what he did. And he found, he created the job that he was suitable for. But he found it through utilising research on LinkedIn. Yeah. So any other don'ts? Well, just make sure you log in at least once a week and spend about 10 minutes there. But apart from that, yeah, there's nothing specific. Yes?
Can you search for a particular type of business on LinkedIn, for example, a sole trader or a company?
If only. Possibly in Sales Navigator, but I don't use it. But I would still recommend that you start with the Google Advanced Search and then look at the person or the company page that comes up as a result of that. Because even with Carmen's company page, I don't think it says how many people work there. I don't think it says the number of, if I look at it as a member, I don't think it says it's only, you know, less than 10 employees.
Oh, it's at the top.
Oh yeah, it does. 0 to 1 employees, there you go. So it does. So it is probably something you could find in Sales Navigator, but it could also be something that you add into that Google Advanced Search. Yeah.
So the field would do company size.
Yeah, company size, yeah. But if you go down the path of purchasing Sales Navigator, you'll have to speak to a LinkedIn person before you purchase it. Make sure you ask every question you could possibly think of before you purchase it, because after you purchase it, they don't answer any questions anymore. So, yeah. I think I might wrap it up there because we said we'd give you some more time for networking. I'm happy to answer questions tonight, and if you want to ask me a question directly afterwards, you can message me on LinkedIn, you can email Sue Ellson at sueellson.com. Please leave the evaluation forms on the desk, upside down on the way out. If you didn't register but want the details, please put your email address on the back so that we can make sure that you receive all the goodies from coming. But again, thank you for showing up. Oh yes, Bendigo.
I just have one last question. Just in terms of content, so a lot of people talk now about personal branding, being like a thought leader on LinkedIn and things like that. As a young professional, I feel it's a bit hard because sometimes you've got opinion on things, but you're still learning. Like, what would you recommend to people in Zero? Like, what do we post about?
Yeah.
Do we post about attending events like that? Do we post about what we do at work? Like, sometimes it's a bit tricky. Do you have just a few content suggestions?
Yeah. I was on a training webinar with a guy from Proudmouth last week on Friday, and it's on his YouTube channel. And he said LinkedIn without the cringe, and he's got a formula for what you do on Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and it's in his slides. So if you watch this little webinar here, Trust-Led LinkedIn Strategies for Business Owners, there's a little formula there. So you can curate, so you can find something fabulous from elsewhere and share that. You can share personal stories. Just add your perspective. Like, just because you're starting out doesn't mean you don't have a perspective and it's not worthwhile. It is. You know, like I was managing bank branches at 26 and like I can't hardly believe that now when I see, you know, different things in the workplace. But yeah, just go for it. It's anything that you think would be relevant to your audience. That particular piece, if you want to see the slides, if you go to my website, I'll just show you a couple of things in here. If you go under the presentations page here and you scroll to the bottom, there's webinars and recording. All of those are free and you don't have to log in or anything to see them. So go to that one. And then if you want to see the slides, LinkedIn for Sales is my next webinar. That's a workshop I ran yesterday. That's online. LinkedIn without the cringe. This is the one I did last Friday. And here is the slides, right? They're fabulous looking slides, by the way. Oh, I think you have to download it. Yeah, you can't. Oh no, we can scroll. Okay. Here he talks about the 3 different types of content. There you go, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The weekly LinkedIn rhythm. So that might be something that you might like to adopt. Yeah. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there and keep connecting on your phones.
Oh, you just kept smiling and Bodie